Good morning to one and all. Myself, Dr. Asha Rai Mada, Department of PG Studies, Food Science and Nutrition, welcome you all to this national webinar. I welcome our eminent speaker, Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai. A warm welcome to you, Doctor. I welcome our secretary and correspondent, Shri Devananda Pai, and our management member, Shri Beltangadi Ganesh Krishna Bhatt. A cordial welcome to our principal, Dr. Satish Kumar Shetty. A warm welcome to our participants to this national seminar. To begin, let us seek the blessings from Almighty.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada.
I request our correspondent and secretary, Women's National Education Society, Shri Devananda Pai, to speak a few words on the occasion.
Morning. My fellow member on the Governing Council, Mr. Beltangadi Ganesh Krishna Bhatt, the principal of our college, Dr. Satish Kumar Shetty, the resource person, Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai, the head of the Department of PG Studies in Food Science and Nutrition, Dr. Asha Rai, and her teammates, Madam Indira Bhatia and Shweta Singh. The Chief of Women's Cell, Madam Savitri Rao, the Head of IQAC, Professor Syed Khadar, the members of the faculty, and all the participants, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to welcome you all to this national webinar on therapeutic potentials of spices and herbs in relationship to COVID-19. The essence of this national webinar is to discuss and learn about the role of herbs and spices in strengthening the internal immune system and to combat coronavirus disease. Ayurveda from time immemorial has been the savior of human community against fatal diseases and has an important role in the current scenario, while the allopathic medicine has made an undeniable impact on human life fighting the fatal diseases. Herbs and plants are rich in flavonoids, vitamin C, which can upgrade the immune function. The flavonoids can possess anti-inflammatory and immune stimulant action. Traditional medicine has been a productive resource for revealing novel-led molecules for modern drug discovery. Further, the Ayurvedic than the conventional medicine and are safe and has no side effects whatsoever. Ashwamedha, amla, neem, turmeric, and tulsi are the most commonly used herbs in Ayurveda. However, I'm sure this national webinar will enhance our knowledge on traditional Ayurvedic medicines. I thank Dr. Asha Rai for providing us the inputs on the subject in a short while from now. I also congratulate the HOD, Dr. Asha Rai and Madam Savitri Rao and their team for providing us this wonderful opportunity to be a part of this webinar. Finally, I pray for the welfare of the human community the world over to stay safe. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Sir, you are an inspiration to us. Thank you, sir, for your good words. Now, I request our principal, Dr. Satish Kumar Shetty, to address the gathering.
Very good morning to all of you. I, at the outset, extend a very warm and cordial welcome to all of you to this webinar. In the wake of COVID-19 outbreak, entire mankind across the globe is suffering. As the number of viral infections and in particular resistant viral strains increasing, existing remedies need to be improved and brought into line with the discovery of new antiviral agents to fight persistent viral infections. The treatment of herbal remedies as readily available alternatives for their compatibility with the body and fewer side effects compared to synthetic chemical treatments has become popular worldwide. Enhancing the body's natural defense system plays an important role in maintaining optimum health. We all know that prevention is better than cure. While there is no medicine for COVID-19 as of now, it will be good to take preventive measures which boost our immunity in these times. Ayurveda, being the science of life, propagates the gifts of nature in maintaining healthy and happy living. Ayurveda's extensive knowledge base on preventive care derives from the concepts of Dinacharya, daily regimes, and Rutacharya, seasonal regimes to maintain healthy life. It is a plant-based science. The simplicity of awareness about oneself and the harmony each individual can achieve by uplifting and maintaining his or her immunity is emphasized across Ayurveda's classical scriptures. Ministry of Ayush recommends the self-care guidelines for preventive health measures and boosting immunity with special reference to respiratory health. These are supported by Ayurvedic literature and scientific publications. Medicinal plants are considered as rich resources of ingredients which can be used in drug development, pharmacopoeial, non-pharmacopoeial, or synthetic drugs. Apart from that, these plants play a critical role in the development of human cultures around the worldwide. There are many benefits of herbal medicines, like easier to obtain than prescription medicine, stabilizes hormones and metabolism, natural healing, strengthen immune system, fewer side effects. Considering the importance of immunity boosting measures during the COVID-19, it is very important to consume supplements in the form of immune nutrients such as vitamin A, C, E, D, B complex, zinc, and copper that will support our body to fight against the pathogens. Application of modern technologies and methodologies in herbal medicine research and development using the accepted Western scientific and ethical standards can have a significant impact on the scientific validity, quality improvement, and standardization of herbal medicines. Against this background, the PT Department of Food Science and Nutrition has taken up this issue on a webinar platform with the topic Therapeutic Potentials of Species and Herbs in Relation to COVID-19. I feel extremely happy to welcome the resource person of today's webinar, Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai Madam, Founder President of Ayush Foundation, member of Indian Red Cross Society, Dakshina Kannada, and the President of Mahila Bansang. More than a doctor, she is known for her eloquent presentations on varied topics. Today, she is going to address on the therapeutic potentials of species and herbs. On behalf of the management, on behalf of the college, I take this opportunity to extend a very warm and cordial welcome to Madam Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai. Cordial welcome to you, Madam. Respected correspondent and the Secretary of Women's National Education Society, Sir K. Devananda Pai is a source of inspiration to all of us. I extend a very warm and cordial welcome to him for his gracious presence. A very hearty welcome to our management member and the correspondent of Besant National PU College, Sir Shri Beltangadi Ganesh Krishna Bud. Welcome to you, sir. Dr. Asha Rai, the head of the Department of MSc Food Science and Nutrition, has taken a lot of pain in organizing this webinar along with their colleagues in the department Mrs. Indira Bhatia, Mrs. Shweta Singh, and the convener of Women's Cell, Mrs. Savitri Rao. Acknowledging their hard work, I wholeheartedly welcome all of them to this webinar. A warm and cordial welcome to the IQAC coordinator, Mr. Syed Kadir, NAC coordinator, Dr. Praveen Kumar Kesi, for their initiative in organizing this webinar. I extend a very warm and cordial welcome to all my colleagues for their support in quality initiative measures. Special thanks to staff member, technical staff, Mr. Ritesh and Mr. Ravindra Murthy. Last but not the least, I extend a very warm and cordial welcome to all the participants for attending this webinar. Thank you. Have a fruitful session ahead.
Sir, you are the backbone of this college. Thank you, sir, for your kind words. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a lot of interest in ways to strengthen one's immune system and thus build a first-time defense against the deadly virus. Since ancient times, herbs and spices were well known for their medical properties. Several spices from India are used extensively in traditional medicine. In this context, we decided to organize a webinar to disseminate knowledge on how these herbs and spices help us therapeutically to fight this pandemic. Here is the right person for this purpose. Our resource person, Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai, completed her BAMS from Government College of Indian Medicine, Bangalore. She was practicing in Chirayu Ayurveda Clinic, Kadri, Bangalore. She is serving as chairperson of Asari Charitable Trust Registered, Bangalore. Her key areas of service: education, health, environment awareness, empowerment. She is the founder president of Ayush Foundation Registered, Bangalore. Key areas of service: to bring Ayush systems of medicine to the mainstream. She is a member of Indian Red Cross Society, especially serving in the Blood Bank Committee. Associated with DK Police to create awareness on drug abuse and unlawful activities. She is the president of Women's Wing, Bunts, Allies, Nadavara, Matra Sangha. Key areas of service: supportive role in all the activities of BANM Sangha. She is a multifaceted and dynamic personality. With this brief introduction, I invite Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai to share her knowledge with our audience. Over to you, Doctor.
A very good morning to all of you. First and foremost, I consider this a privilege to be invited here to address this webinar organized by the Besant Women's College. This is a wonderful initiative being taken, and I extend a warm greetings and a very good morning to all the viewers out there. First and foremost, I would like to ask you whether I am audible. If I am not audible, please do put it up on the chat box. Well, today's topic: the therapeutic potentials of herbs and spices in relation to COVID-19. Herbs and spices by itself, as an Ayurveda physician, I cannot separate them from each other. For me, herbs and spices are a part of Ayurveda. When I say this, I need to tell you something about Ayurveda. Without knowing about Ayurveda, without knowing the tenets of Ayurveda, it is a bit difficult for a layman to understand what we are talking about. So let me come to this. Your perception of Ayurveda. I would please like to have the PPT. So most of you have different perceptions of Ayurveda. I think your perception of Ayurveda would be like Ayurveda is a herbal science. It is a medical system which has very little side effects. Or Ayurveda is about all therapies and massage. Or that Ayurveda consists of very strict diet. Or maybe you would have heard that Ayurveda is very slow in action, or it suits only chronic diseases, or Ayurvedic medicines are very, very unpalatable. These are probably the perceptions what you have in your mind. But then what actually is Ayurveda? Ayu means life and Veda denotes knowledge. Ayurveda is just not a science of herbs and spices. Let me tell you, Ayurveda is a science of life itself. So this is something which you really have to understand. Now, when we come to this point as a life science, why do we call Ayurveda as a life science? Ayurveda mentions not only the various diseases and their remedies, but it gives solutions from cradle to grave aspects of human life. It also gives lifestyle values, moral values, ethics, and also spiritual guidance. This is something amazing when you look at it as a science. And let me tell you, our classical texts are not healthcare guides or medical documents, but it is life care guideline. This is Ayurveda for you. Now, when we speak about Ayurveda, there is something called, every science has a purpose. So let us see what the purpose of Ayurveda is. Prayojanam chasya swasthasya swasthya rakshanam aturasya vikara prashamanam cha. This is what Charaka Samhita, that is Charaka, he is known as one of the best physicians who walked the face of earth. So Charaka writes, the purpose of this science is to preserve the health of the healthy people and cure the disease of the unhealthy. Now let us have a glimpse of what preventive and social medicine has in Ayurveda. As far as preventive and social medicine is concerned in modern medicine, probably 18th century till 18th century, the concept of preventive and social medicine was not so evolved. But in Ayurveda, we have a beautiful guideline about preventive and social medicine. We have something called as Dinacharya. Our acharyas have given guidelines as to how we have to live during the day, the diet and the regime for the day, the Ratricharya, similarly for the night, the Rutucharya, the seasonal diet and regime, the Sandhikala. See, there is a transition period between every season. And most of us get sick during the transition period. Say, for example, from summer to rainy season, there is a fortnight or 3-week period, which is called as a Sandhikala. Ayurveda mentions the diet and regime instructions even during that time. And there is something called as Sadvrita, which is very, very important. I would like you to remember this. The social, the moral, and the ethical conduct as to how a human being has to be. Now, let me ask you all, probably all of you are youngsters out there and young at heart listening to this webinar. What is your motto in life? What is your purpose in life? Maybe to gain a degree, gain wealth, acquire luxuries, fame, participate in adventurous sports, go trekking, go traveling, or maybe involve yourself in social services, or maybe if you are spiritually inclined, think of a salvation, remain healthy, etc., etc. But let me tell you, to achieve all this, there is something very, very important. This body. Ayurveda says there are the 4 purusharthas of life: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma is righteous living. Artha is substantial financial security. Kama is various desires of life. And moksha is a spiritual salvation. But to achieve all this, we need our body. But is just a body enough? We need a healthy body. So at the end, The cliche is health, health, and more health. Now let me come to this point. Is health what you think it is? What do you think health is? Is it just being free from diseases? Or is it just being free from all the physical infirmities and deformities? Or is it just a sound mind in a sound body? Or is it having all your investigations and diagnostic parameters in order? Is this health? Well, Ayurveda describes health in a beautiful way. You must have all heard of Sushruta. He was the first known surgeon. Believe me, the Royal College in England has his statue installed as the first surgeon of the world. But I am very, very disappointed. I really don't know how many colleges or medical colleges in our country have Sushruta statue. This is something to be thought about. What Sushruta says is, Samadosha samadnischa samadatu malakriyaha prasannatmendriya manaha svastasya vidiyate. This is said in Sushruta Samhita. These two lines encompasses everything what health is about. Health, according to Ayurveda, is a state of equilibrium among various bodily elements, along with perfect metabolism, in association with timely excretion of waste, coupled with a happy and contented senses, mind and soul. Can you think of a more comprehensive definition for health? And this, mind you, my dear viewers, was said 5,000 years back. Now let me come to this. World Health Organization also has a definition for health. They say it is a complete balance between the physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being of the person. And this, let me tell you, this spiritual well-being was just added a decade or two ago. But spiritual well-being was mentioned almost 5,000 years back in Ayurveda. Now let us come to this point. What do you think of disease? What is disease? Any deviation from this particular well-being is a disease. Whether it is on the physical plane, whether it is on the mental plane, a spiritual plane, or a social plane, or even an emotional plane. So now, herbs do form a very, very important part of Ayurveda. Let me reiterate here, Ayurveda is not about herbs only, but it is undeniable that herbs are an inevitable and an inseparable part of Ayurveda. Intelligent use of herbs in different forms, incorporating the principles of Ayurveda, is the key to success in treatment. Just adding some herbs into soaps or toothpaste or some cosmetics does not define Ayurveda, So let us see what the perception of herbs in Ayurveda is. In Charaka Samhita, in the Sutrasthana, Acharya Charaka says, there is no substance or vegetation in this universe which cannot be used as medicine, on the condition that they are used in a rational way, with wisdom and with a definitive object. This is based on a theory called as Pancha Mahabhuta theory. I think some of you who are listening to me know what Pancha Mahabhuta theory is. Ayurveda and all philosophies, all schools of philosophy in India believe that the body is made up of 5 elements. Let alone the body, the entire universe is made up of the 5 elements called as Prithvi, that is the earth factor, earth element, the Up, water element, Tejas, the fire element, Vayu, the air element, and space, This is the Panchamahabhuta theory for you. What we believe is, since the universe is made up of Panchabhuta, the living beings are also made of Panchabhuta, the equilibrium or the lack of equilibrium in a living body can be rectified by using some of the products like herbs, vegetation, minerals, etc., from the universe, because they are also made up of Panchabhuta. So whatever is deficient or excess in your body can be balanced by using all the products which are used, which are available in the universe. So this is the thought process what Ayurveda has behind herbs or any vegetation in general. And let me tell you, one herb can be used in many contexts. It doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, one herb for one disease, nothing like that. A herb, by the means of different forms of administration, different anupanas or whatever additives which go with that, the mode of how you compose the medicine or how you compose a compound, the means of how you give it, is it orally, is it rectally, is it through the orifices of the nose, is it in the ear, all these things in a combination, a herb can be used in different ways. I will give you an example of a very common medicine or a herb, ginger. Let me tell you, ginger used with milk as Shunti Kshirapaka is very well known treatment for a common cold. If you use ginger with rock salt just before your meals, it will aid your digestion. If you have issues with evacuation of bowels, then have a piece of ginger with jaggery just before your dinner. Ginger can be used with licorice root, Yashti Madhu, Jeshta Madhu anta heltare, and pepper, pepper, to manage throat infections. A little amount of ginger juice added with jaggery instilled into the nostrils can clear your sinuses. So you see the versatility of one single drug used in many different ways. So this is something what is, this process is used in Ayurveda to treat different kinds of medicine with a single herb in combination with many other spices and herbs. So let us see, most of you must be thinking, the title says, the heading today, the topic says, in relation to COVID-19. So most of you may ask, Doctor, your science is a very, very ancient one, 5,000 years back. And our dear Corona-19 is very, very new, just a few months old. Can Ayurveda handle this or even tackle this or even imagine to tackle this? Let me tell you, Ayurveda is a science dating back to 5,000 years. We still follow the ancient texts which do not need to be edited time and time again to rectify whatever is wrong or whatever beliefs were there last month does not apply in this month. No. Whatever belief system or whatever is written in Ayurveda in those days are applicable even today. So COVID-19 is a type of a disease already described, but maybe the strain is a little bit different. So I do not say that Ayurveda and COVID are disconnected and cannot be treated and nothing like that. Diseases by themselves are innumerable. We need to understand that every day the nature is throwing up different challenges and we are getting different diseases. Every day you are having one new form of disease coming with exotic names. Coronavirus is new. The virus per se is not new, but COVID-19, the one which is causing COVID-19, this particular strain seems to be a little new and causing problems. Prior to this, we have had many such viral infections like SARS, MERS, swine flu, Ebola, etc., etc. There is one very interesting facet in Ayurveda naming a disease is not mandatory. With all the facts and evidences, it is really not wise to rely only on a name to treat a condition. Naming a disease, like I said, it's not mandatory in Ayurveda. We only see what kind of a imbalance in the equilibrium of the doshas, because doshas, the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, they form the base of whatever we are the treatment of the diagnostic processes in Ayurveda. We also give a lot of importance to the prakriti or the constitution of a person. So Ayurveda adopts a more holistic approach towards any disease for that matter. We do not say a liver is different, a heart is different. It is treating a patient as a whole. Even specializations, it treats patient as a whole. And this is something very beautiful about Ayurveda, and all the protocols are followed similarly. So now, as I said, there are innumerable diseases. Acharya Charaka says, don't feel bad that you have not got, your diagnosis has not named a particular disease. Just look at the subject. You find out what are the doshas imbalanced in that particular subject, that is the patient. Accordingly, you treat the patient by using various medicines and drugs which will put the doshas, the dhatus, in balance. Dhatus are the tissues, the doshas are the three humors of the body. There is something called as Agni also. We lay a lot of emphasis on Agni. Agni is the fire element which aids in digestion, and each tissue has its own Agni. So now, as we said, we are not going to emphasize too much on the name of the disease, because you know what havoc it has created. A name, Corona and COVID-19 in the media has instilled fear in the heart of people. So this is one thing I would like to mention here. Now, you may ask me, does Ayurveda mention anything about transmission of disease? Yes. Sushruta Samhita, in his Nidhanasthana, Acharya Sushruta mentions there are various modes of transmission of disease. By close interaction, by touch, respiratory or oral droplet infection, close physical contact using the stuff which is being used by the sick person leads to transmission of various diseases like skin diseases, fevers, conditions like tuberculosis, conjunctivitis, etc., etc. Now, how do you view COVID-19 with this scenario in the background? Well, we would say COVID-19 is a type of Agantuja Jwara or infective fever. This is a tentative diagnosis, but then when the subject comes to us, we are also going to see what other symptoms he is presenting with. Like we are seeing today, COVID-19 doesn't have a set pattern. It may present itself asymptomatic, it may present itself with just a little bit of runny nose, it may present itself with diarrhea. There are a lot of other things. So what tentatively, this is an infective or an Agantuja Jwara. And then we see what other symptoms the subject is presenting with. Do we have any reference to pandemics? Yes, Acharya Charaka said, pandemics are Janapadodvamsa Vyadis. Janapadodvamsa Vyadis are something which affect a large number of people at the same time. So it is not very new to Ayurveda. The role of Ayurveda in COVID, as we would say, as mentioned earlier, we are more stronger in the prevention part. Prevention is always better than cure. So we lay emphasis on prevention and also restoration. Therefore, it has to be seen independently as a disease by itself. Of course, it is a new strain. However, the comprehensive management includes not only herbs, but a complete lifestyle change. So let us see how we can prevent COVID-19 through Ayurveda. Let us come to this fact, like we'll be plugging the entry points. Okay. In a day, You have to have daily routine which is inclusive of healthy practices which improvises the health and guards the entry points. For example, Kavala and Gandusha, oil pulling and gargling improves defense mechanism in the mouth and throat. Nasya, Erhines they are called, which medicine is instilled into your nostrils. This kind of prevents the organisms from entering into the upper respiratory tract and maintaining a healthy environment in the nasal flora. Anjana. Anjana is something, it is called as collyrium or salve. You apply it to the eyes. Medicated salves which you apply to the eyes so that your the flora in the eyes, the sensitive tissues are safeguarded. And then comes Abhyanga. Abhyanga is oiling, that is applying oil, medicated oils on the body at a regular interval and having your bath. Dhumapana. Now don't tell me I'm telling you to smoke cigarettes, please. Dhumapana is medicated smoke, inhalation of medicated smoke and steam. And Dhupana. I can give you an example of Aparajita Dhuma, that is fumigation, which is very, very successfully used in the state of Kerala to fumigate COVID-19 wards. This is something which we need to think about. So I think we will just move through the slides. There are some pictures. This is Abhyanga, then Nasya, then Anjana, that is to the eyes, collyrium to the eyes. Then it is Dhupana, you are inhaling medicated smoke. Then Kavala and Gandusha Graha, this is oil pulling and gargling. Then it is fumigation. Now, let me come to this point. We are talking about herbs and spices. Do you think if you just use herbs and spices, it is sufficient to give you a healthy body, mind, soul, whatever? No. There has to be a foundation, and the foundation is food. If you're going to eat junk food, if you're going to drink aerated water, if you're going to drink stuff from the refrigerator, if you're going to eat stale food and then say, I'm going to take herbs and spices and be healthy, no, it's not happening. Let me tell you, food is a very, very important pillar of Ayurveda. Consume food only as much as required. Consume food only after the previous food has been digested. Consume food on time. Light and early food at night. Consume food warm. Choose natural over processed food. Seasonal and fresh food produce and those grown in local areas. The second point or the pillar I would say is sleep. Most of us today are literally assaulting our sense organs, our eyes and ears with different kinds of gadgets, the television, the blue light, your computers, your phones, etc., etc. Sleep is very, very important. Please get adequate sleep. Your body needs rest since it repairs itself only during rest. You have to be early to bed and early to rise. Avoid day sleep, please. And please never sleep with your stomach full. Now let us come to the role of herbs in prevention. I will just skim through this. Rationality behind this is it is based on classical treatment of Aganthuja Jwara. So we know that we have classified COVID-19 as an Aganthuja Jwara. So Aganthuja Jwara, that will be the base of the treatment. Then we treat it with a virus-based approach, then a symptomatic approach. Now let us come to the role of spices and herbs. Fortunately in India, we are amazing and spicy fellows. We have had spice throughout our lives. You just enter any Indian kitchen, you will find a cabinet which is full of herbs and spices. This is something very, very fortunate for us Indians. Let me name some. You have cardamom, you have cumin seeds, you have turmeric, you have cinnamon, you have pepper, you have clove, bay leaves, fenugreek, ginger, garlic, to name a few. Let me give you a few very common examples. I think most of you have cumin seeds at home, most of you can identify cumin seeds, right? So jeera, we call it jeera. Jeera is known to help digestion. It also treats insomnia. It dispels the gas which is formed in the stomach and bubbles. It helps in menstrual problems. And also it helps in lactating mothers to increase secretion of milk. And it is a mild diuretic. So I don't know how many of you have noticed your mother or grandmother when she's preparing potatoes or something which is more gas forming. She will just throw in a teaspoon or a tablespoon of jeera into that curry. Please don't think she's having fun around there. She exactly knows that jeera is going to alleviate the flatulence which will be caused by the potato. So you get this beautiful system how Ayurveda is intertwined in the life of Indians. This is something I would like you, especially, I don't know, some of you must be PG students in food sciences and nutrition. Please don't go only by the books. Go to the field. Go and get in touch with old people, old ladies who are doing good at cooking. Ask them, why do you add this to this? They will have an answer, believe me. So now let us come to cinnamon. Cinnamon nowadays is promoted as a herb which is very, very effective in diabetes type 2. And cinnamon is also very, very flavorable, and it has got a very distinct flavor and very pleasing flavor. So it is being used in lattes, you know, they say this pumpkin spice latte, Cincinnati chili, all these have cinnamon as the base. So cinnamon is also great for people with high blood pressure and diabetes. But let me just sound a small warning bell here. I just got a patient a few days back. He read it up on WhatsApp saying that cinnamon is extremely good for you. It boosts your immunity and also good for your diabetes. So he has taken cinnamon powder, which I did not know in the beginning. He comes with severe cramping in the stomach, the upper stomach, the epigastric region. I did not understand what was happening, so I started asking him. So he said, this is something new which I've started in the last 1.5 months. I'm taking 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder twice a day. And, you know, like I mentioned, the prakriti of the person is very, very important here. A pitta prakriti person cannot be taking so much of cinnamon powder. A kapha prakriti person may adjust to it. So this is something what I would like all of you to think. Just don't take anything which comes up on the WhatsApp university, please. So now let me come to turmeric, this golden drug. It's amazing. You know, a decade back, US tried to take patent of this rhizome. This rhizome, which was mentioned 5,000 years back in Ayurveda, saying that it is Haridra. Turmeric fights inflammation. Turmeric is known, very commonly used in all the curries and all in Indian dishes. It has an anti-infective property, and I'm sure most of you know about turmeric. So let me come to the meta-analysis. Research has shown the health benefits of spices and herbs over the last century. Amazing clinical R&D research, etc. has been done. And we know that spices are antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, the flavonoids, they have antimicrobial, cardioprotective properties, neuroprotective properties, anti-cancerous properties. This is all proven now. It is not something we are just bringing out from a text which is 5,000 years old and just feeding it to the people. So the rationale behind using herbs and spices in therapy, in any kind of therapy, and especially so in Ayurveda therapy, is the action is both direct and indirect. Now let me come to the direct action. It inhibits the microorganism and their traces in the body. Indirectly, it acts by strengthening your immune system so that you get the strength. Your body mechanism gets the strength to fight against the microorganism attacking your body. Therefore, combating the onslaught from anything which is coming from outside. So next time you come across any spice on your plate, please don't throw it away like waste. Just chew on it and gulp it down. The herbs in prevention of COVID-19. Drugs usually recommended for the prevention are typical mixes of spices and herbs. There is a list of compounds, because one thing about Ayurveda is we use single drugs, but most of the time we use compound drugs where it is a combination of a lot of herbs and spices and a lot of other vegetation too. There are several immune boosting herbs which are making rounds, like I told you, in the WhatsApp University. So be careful when you go through it. Always take a consultation from a certified Ayurvedic physician. So let us sum up the actions of these, whatever we have spoken till now. Herbs and spices improve digestion and absorption of ingested food and also medicines. So it can be used as supplementary to any other medicine which you are taking. They increase the bioavailability of the drugs which you have taken. They nourish the tissues optimally. They strengthen the respiratory tract, not only the respiratory tract, your circulatory system, your urinary system, everything is strengthened. And they neutralize the toxins and expel them out from the body. Now let me come to something very important. Since 2014, Ayush, that is Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy have got a great boost since the Ministry of Ayush has been given an independent charge and amazing work is being done. The measures which the Ayush Ministry is suggesting today to prevent COVID from attacking, or even management of COVID for that matter, take Chyawanprash, that is about 1 teaspoon in the morning. Let me remind you, diabetics, please take sugar-free Chyawanprash. You can drink a herbal tea or a decoction. It is called a khada, which is made of tulsi, dalchini, pepper, ginger and raisins. I'll just keep the next slide on for some time. You can note down how to make the method of preparing this khada for 2 people. Just please keep that for some time. And another very interesting medicine and very simple one which is doing rounds and which the Ayush Ministry has suggested is the golden milk. Like I told you, the golden herb, turmeric. You have about a half teaspoon of turmeric powder added to 150 ml of warm milk. And if you want palatability in case of giving to children, you can add natural sugar or sugar candy. This is something which is very easy to make, and I would also call it the golden latte. There are certain procedures which are mentioned by Ayush Ministry, which I actually dealt in the previous slides. The nasal application, what I mentioned, the nasya. Since nasya by itself is quite a elaborate process, but you can go for something called as Pratimarsha nasya, which is very simple. Here, both the nostrils have to be, you have to put 2 drops of coconut oil maybe, or sesame oil, or maybe ghee, pure ghee, into your nostrils. You just apply to your nostrils and slowly inhale. So the flora of your nostrils will just start absorbing it. And you have this strengthening of the skin around your nose, and also it prevents the microorganisms from getting into your nose. There is this oil pulling therapy which I mentioned, the Kavalagraha. Take 1 teaspoon of sesame oil or coconut oil. Keep it in your mouth. Swish it in your mouth for about 2 or 3 minutes. Please do not swallow. All the toxins and whatever is there between your teeth and around your mouth gets accumulated in that oil. You can spit it out. Rinse your mouth with hot water. Do not swallow. Do not swallow. So this is Kavalagraha, or oil pulling as we call it. This can be done twice a day. Okay. In an event of a sore throat, what do you do? Steam inhalation, you can use fresh leaves of pudina. You can use some ajwain, oma, it's called ajwain seeds. Just coarsely pound it, put it in a vessel of water and take steam inhalation. Then you can take powder of cloves, that is lavanga. You can mix it with sugar, natural sugar or honey, and take it 2 or 3 times a day. Here I would like to remind you, people with pitta prakriti, please be aware when you are taking cloves. It has a very heat kind of effect on the body. Please consult your Ayurveda physician before taking it. So generally these measures are okay enough to tackle dry cough as well as sore throat. But if symptoms persist, please consult the doctor immediately. Keep drinking warm water throughout the day. You practice yogasana, pranayama, meditation for at least 30 minutes in a day. I think you are out of 24 hours, you are entitled to 30 minutes for yourself. Please give that 30 minutes to yourself. Please use spices like haldi, jeera, coriander, garlic, etc., etc. In your daily cooking. There are certain single drugs which can be used for COVID. I would like to just tell it to you. You must be knowing about Bhumyamlaki, Nelanilli anta karitare. So it is called as Phyllanthus neruri. So Bhumyamlaki, Guduchi, Amritaballi anta kelidira neevu. So Amritaballi can be used. Ashwagandha can be used. Tulasi, Yashtimadu or Jeshtamadu. You can use Pippali. It is Piper longum. It's a family of pepper, but it is slightly longer. Then you can use Musta, Punnari Gadde anta heltare adukke. Then you can use Amlaki, Nellikai, ellargu gottu. And there are certain compounds which Ayurveda has prepared thousands of years ago, like Sanjeevani Vati, Samshamani Vati, Sudarshana Ganavati, Bilvari Gutika, and Dhanavantri Vati. But please do not take any of these without consulting your Ayurveda physician. There are more formulations which you can take a little safely, like Talisapatra Churna, just in case you are having issues with your upper respiratory system, Sitopaladi Churna, Karpuradi Churna, and Amrutottara Kashayas, Drakshadi Kashaya, and Amritarishta. These are fairly safer medicines, but it would be still preferable if you consult your Ayurveda physician. There are lehas called as Chavanaprasha, Agasya Haritaki, Chitraka Haritaki, Dashamula Haritaki, and Tambula Valeha. Well, I like this Tambula Valeha. You know, we had this system of having pan after having dinner or lunch for that matter. So Tambula means Viledele, pan. So you see, all these are herbs which are in and around our garden. We can grow all this in and around our garden. We can make a herbal garden. We can make use of our own herbs which can be grown in and around our house. So summing up, let me tell you, herbs and spices should form an important part of our cuisine and medicine. They are nature's remedies to a host of diseases, and we have to thank nature for that. It is up to ourselves to educate ourselves about the herbs, the spices, the way they act on the body, and the constitution of our own body. Like, you know, we have to understand our own body before we start taking anything. Now, let me come to the source of herbs and spices. Environment and nature is the biggest source of herbs and spices. So the first and foremost thing is, it is mandatory that we protect our environment, we protect our nature. Without our environment, without our nature, we will not have any more herbs or spices for our use. Secondly, now that herbs and spices have gained so much of importance, the commercial value is increasing. The moment commercial value increases, the growing methods, etc., will become very, very spurious, and it will be more business oriented. So please remember, wherever you are sourcing your herbs and spices from, please see that they are from authentic sources. I would say the Prime Minister's slogan, vocal for local. Spice and herbs, please source them from wherever it is near to you. Be very conscious about what you are doing to the environment. I would not say commercially grown spices and herbs. Today, what they are doing is they're clearing of forests because the demand is so much. They're clearing of forests and growing herbs and spices. It doesn't make any sense. We have to be able to do something like a permaculture where all, whether it is a worm, whether it is a herb, whether it is a shrub, whether it is a tree, everything grow together. We have to be all encompassing, all the living beings, everything has life, whether it is plants, whether it is any other living beings, every single entity has a right on this earth. Let us all be conscious about this. And I hope whatever I have spoken to you today has cleared a lot of doubts, and maybe you may be having newer doubts too. And I hope I have done justice to the confidence which the organizers have placed on me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge on proper usage of herbs and spices for improving our health. It was very informative and interesting talk. I'm sure that every one of us will follow your suggestions and practice it in this time of crisis. Thank you very much, Doctor. Now, the participants can put forward their queries in the chat box. I request Ms. Indira, Assistant Professor of Department, to take over.
Thank you, Madam, for sharing your knowledge with us. Moving on to the question and answer session, ma'am. Here is a question one of the participants has asked. What about infection through the feet? And what kind of medications should be taken for the same?
From the feet? Can I
From
hear
the
it?
feet.
F-E-T, feet.
F-E-E-T, yes, ma'am.
Okay, infections from the feet. See, at the end of the day, we are a whole. The skin conditions, if you take feet per se, you can, once you come home, you have to wash your feet with soap and water as advised. Earlier, probably they did not have soap, they had soap nuts. You must know, Lorekai and they used to use different kinds of mud to wash the feet. But now we have very convenient methods. You have to wash your feet well with soap and water. And if you're in an area which is highly contaminated, please use a disinfectant also. And you can apply any of the medicated oils. We have umpteen number of medicated oils which your Ayurveda physician can suggest to you. These oils can be used when you are sleeping at night. So this is one way where you can prevent infection through the feet. You can also soak your feet with certain herbs in warm water, a little bit of salt, and so you can soak your feet. It serves two purposes. It also relieves stress. Along with that, takes away a little bit of the negativity. What we consider it is a very negativity, I should say it is a very abstract term, I mustn't be using it here, but it can help you to relieve the stress, it can help you to clean your feet, and there are a lot of oils which are available, and there are a lot of kashayas also. There are kashayas which can be, you get ready-made kashayas in Ayurveda shops where you can bring the kashaya churnas home, boil it, and then use it for washing your feet. That is called prakshalana. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. One more participant has asked, in what form can we incorporate ajwain leaves in our diet, ma'am?
Ajwain leaves, most of the times, ajwain seeds are usually used. Ajwain leaves can be used for inhalation. Like I said, fresh pudina leaves, if you have fresh ajwain leaves, you can use it for inhalation. But as we are using the ajwain seeds also can be used and they are more easily procured. If you have a herbal garden, definitely you can use it for inhalation. You can also use it for your bath water. You can make a nice concoction and put it in your bath water. You can use it. It will refresh you. So these are certain small things which you can, and maybe if you are okay with chewing on leaves, and if you are okay with raw taste, then even chewing on leaves is not a great deal, because I have seen a lot of people in folklore who chew on tender leaves of various plants. For example, tulsi, brahmi, and then kimare they call it, and guava, and all these volle kodi and all that. They use it in folklore, and they actually use it for chewing also. This can be used in inhalation. It can be used for dhumapana or even dhupana. That is, you dry it. You dry it in shade, and once it is really dry, you can use it for fumigation also.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one of the participants has asked, what are the uses of pepper in our food?
Pepper and? I didn't get the second part of it.
Just the pepper, ma'am.
Pepper. Yeah, pepper, I can call it black gold. Pepper grows especially in our area, especially Kerala, Karnataka, we are really growing it. Pepper basically has, a kapha alleviating. It kind of alleviates kapha. It has a slightly spicy taste. So if you have sore throat, if you have upper respiratory tract infection, lower respiratory tract infection, it is amazing. There is something called as Marichadi Thaila also, which is used for skin diseases. So when you look at the compound, like, whatever Ayurveda formulations are there, a lot of pepper is used in various kinds of compounds. But when you are using it as a single drug per se, you can use it in your khadas, or you can use it in, you can steep it in hot water and drink pepper kashaya. When you're having a cold and running a mild fever and all that, pepper is excellent for it, in combination with other herbs like ginger, turmeric, and then you can use a clove of garlic and a little bit of cinnamon. You can make a kashaya out of this, put in a little bit of jaggery, and you can have this pepper kashaya for cold and head cold. Some people have cold in the head, like, it is very heavy head and all that. So you can use pepper in various forms like that. And definitely pepper on a daily basis also, a pinch of pepper will help you boost up your immune system.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there's one more question. What kind of spices and herbs can be used for allergic cold and wheezing?
Yeah, allergic cold and wheezing is something which is very common nowadays because of the pollution, whether it is vehicular pollution or any other kind of pollution. You can use all these herbs which I mentioned throughout the talk. Whatever is available to you, you can just coarsely pound it, put it in a bowl of water, and take inhalation. It really helps. So whenever you feel your allergy coming, if it is rhinitis or bronchitis, allergic bronchitis or allergic rhinitis, please go for inhalation. And you can also make some kind of kadas and have it. Turmeric especially, if you could use it. We use a product called Brihat Haridra Kanda. The turmeric itself is a major ingredient in Brihat Haridra Kanda, which is used for allergies. So turmeric can be used. You can use it for inhalation. You can make a small decoction. You can make teas, just steeping, just put some of these spices in a kind of a cylindrical tumbler, and then pour hot water over it. Just keep it for some time and drink it. If you want, you can add sugar candy, or you can add jaggery and drink it. It will be excellent for your allergies. Try to add turmeric as much as possible if you have allergic conditions. This can be also applied, certain non-smarting herbs, I would call it, like turmeric, etc., can be also applied on skin lesions along with neem and tulsi. Tulsi, neem, and turmeric can be mixed together and applied on skin lesions, allergy on the skin. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. There's one more question. Cinnamon and fenugreek, how can it help treat diabetes?
Cinnamon and
Fenugreek.
fenugreek, yeah. A lot of research which is being done on methi, fenugreek, and cinnamon has showed excellent results in diabetes. I do not say 100% patients will respond to it. Again, I would come to the fact that it depends again on your prakriti. I had this particular patient who had seen that Karela is extremely good for diabetes and started drinking glasses of Karela juice every day. You know, even Amrita or an elixir can become poisonous if taken in the wrong quantity and without the right wisdom. And even a poison can become a good medicine if it is taken with wisdom and in the right time and the right situation. So here, methi and cinnamon, you said, these have been proven to be anti-diabetic. So what we have to see here is your prakriti also has to be suitable for that. Methi is giving excellent results. So maybe in certain conditions, I would say that in modern terminology, it has not been clinically documented and stuff like that. But there are patients who have come with good results, who have decreased their insulin intake after having cinnamon or methi. Methi is more conducive to people who have pitta and vata constitutions, whereas cinnamon is not very conducive to people with pitta constitution because it can cause a little heat in the body. It may not agree with them. So these are certain things which you need to discuss with your doctor before going on a prolonged treatment, because these things can be taken for a prolonged time, but it needs to be certified, or at least you have to take an advice from your physician. What we do is there is the Virya, Vipaka, the clinical process of Ayurveda is a little bit different from the clinical processes what we are doing in the modern methodology. So what I would like to say here is we take a drug, we see the Virya of the drug, the Vipaka of the drug, whether it is Guru, whether it is Laghu, whether it is increases Kapha, whether it is increases Pitta, whether it is decreases Pitta. These are the parameters which we are looking at. So when we explain cinnamon and methi according to Ayurveda, we will be explaining in terms of your body composition and terms of Virya, Vipaka, etc. So this is a more elaborate subject which will need another probably 15 to 20 minutes.
Thank you, madam, for sharing your knowledge with us. It was indeed an enriching session. Thank you, madam. I now request Professor Savitri, convener of Women's Cell, to propose vote of thanks. Over to Savitri, ma'am.
Good afternoon, all. As all good things come to an end in life, so is this webinar. On behalf of Besant Women's College, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar titled Therapeutic Potentials of Spices and Herbs in Relation to COVID-19. I, on behalf of the organizing team and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all, extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. My sincere thanks to our resource person, Dr. Asha Jyoti Rai, President of Asare Charitable Trust and Founder President of Ayush Foundation. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, Madam. We are thankful to our Honorable Correspondent and Secretary of Women's National Education Society, Sri Devanand Pai, for his support and motivation. I sincerely thank our management member and correspondent of Besan Women's College, Sri Ganesh Krishnabhat, for his support. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Satish Kumar Shetty, for his enthusiastic support and motivation. I also extend thanks to IQAC coordinator, Professor Saeed Kadir, and NAT coordinator, Dr. Praveen Kumar Kesi, for their support. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and bird's eye for details. This webinar wouldn't have been possible without the initiative of Dr. Asha Rai, Director, Department of PG Studies in Food Science and Nutrition. I profusely thank for her tireless efforts in putting for this webinar to happen. I also thank her team members, Professor Indira Badya, Professor Shweta Singh, Professor Firal, and Professor Rupa Rao. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a very motivated and dedicated technical team. Special thanks to Mr. Ravinder Murthy and Mr. Ritesh Kumar for their technical support. My heartfelt thanks to Mr. Bhaskar for his photographs. Special thanks to all our dear colleagues for their cooperation and support. Last but not the least, a big thank you to all our participants for making this webinar a great success. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Not a tradition to come back after the vote of thanks, but I would like to place on record the help Dr. Sandeep Bekal has extended to me in making this PPT. He's a professor and the head of Department of Kriya Sharira, Sharada Ayurveda Medical College, Thalapadi, Mangalore. Because I am a little technologically challenged, I had to ask Sandeep for help. Thank you so much.
To all the participants, filling the feedback form is mandatory for receiving the certificate. The link will be provided in the WhatsApp group and also in the chat box. Only 100 participants can receive the certificates per day. Thank you.